side is done. Welcome back to Kikis Customs. Today we got a short video on how to fix some rust. We're gonna be working on a 1968 Impala. Let's get into it. So fixing rust spots like this, small spots like that, it's actually not that hard. All you need is these tools right here. You need a welder, grinder with a bunch of cutoff wheels and sand discs, some sandpaper, bondo, a hammer, tape measure, screwdriver. Then once we're done, we're gonna use some alcohol to clean off the area before we bondo it and prime it. And then if you want your body parts to work normally, some safety equipment. So this new metal that I got at Lowe's, it's 16 gauge, where body panels are usually 18 to 20 gauge, but that's fine. And so the way we fix this, right, we're gonna cut out the rusted spots, right? Cut out another piece of new, fresh metal, grind that so it fits in there, tack it in, weld it, put some bondo, and then prime it. All right, so now that this is all sanded down, we're gonna pick around it, see where the damaged metal is. So now that we have an idea of where this rust goes and where it ends, we're gonna start marking our cuts. We wanna get out about an inch out from where the rust starts. And you wanna make sure your lines are straight because it's harder to form a circle than a square out of metal. Now that we have this cut, we're gonna sand down this, prime it so that doesn't rust again. Sometimes you gotta make do with what you got. This is a wire brush for the pool. So as I was cleaning this, see all that rust came out. We found one more spot, which is underneath. Since nobody's ever gonna see that, we're just gonna clean that off, throw some bondo in it. Let's get some alcohol in there just to clean it up. Should be good. As that's drying, we're gonna mix up some bondo. So now that that is good, we have the metal ready for the new plate. We have it primed so no rust will happen again. I'm gonna come back tomorrow, I think, get this done. Okay, we are back. Let's get this thing done. First thing we gotta do, remove all this paint we put on it. All right, so now that we got this paint off, we gotta measure up the hole we cut. So we got 5 10/16 and then 4 1/2. Now we're gonna grab this piece of metal that we have and measure out that size. It's gonna be a square first and then we'll cut it down. All right, so the next step, we're gonna shape this metal up a little bit, trim off these edges, and then we'll start to bend it. All right, so now we're at the point where it's just about to fit in. Still have to trim some off, but it's almost there. So now what we gotta do is we gotta bend it so it actually forms to the shape of the car, or else it's not gonna fit on correctly. So we're gonna have to bend that out, give it the curve of that body panel. All right, you can see that little bend we put on it. It's nothing major. Now it's the actual shape of the body panel. So now let's finish shaping this thing up. Also, when you're doing all of this body panel work, you want to take your time, because if you rush it, it's gonna bite you in the ass after. You have to make sure all your cuts are right, because if you go too far, you're gonna have to start over again. So just take your time. Ellie, why are you always in my videos?
Because I'm a good homie, bro. And I like
These things are ass, huh? Dang, alright. No. Alright, so we got this. Had to shape a little more, bent it. Now it's fitting in. Next thing we gotta do is take this coating it has and then start welding it.
That shit was not blinding. I stared right at it.
Don't fucking stare at it, bro. Thank you.
Roughhouse?
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, we're roughhouse. Your daddy roughhouse too.
Alright, so we got the metal tack welded in all the way around. Now it's time to grind it down. When you're doing this, make sure you take your time, because if you weld this all the way through, whole body panel will get messed up. Alright, so now we got those welds grinded down. Right here we don't need it to be flush because this is pushed in a little. We'll just fix that with some bondo. But you want the original metal be nice and flush so you don't get that sticking through. Alright, so now that we got that nice and smooth, metal piece ain't popping out, which is good. We're gonna grab some 120. You could probably use 220 if you want. I just have 120. You want to sand down this metal and scuff up whatever paint is around it. Now that we got that sanded down, I'm gonna use some isopropyl alcohol, 70%. Throw some on a rag. Clean that thing up.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you. Alright, so now we got some bondo on here. It's nice and hard. Gonna take a orbital sander with a 120 grit and just smooth that out for now. So there we go, we got a rough sand down. We still have to fill in some spots like that. Next we're going to hand sand the curves back in and just get all those other imperfections. Let's do that and then we'll get into priming it. There we go, we put the final touches on, fill those holes, and we only went to a 220. So now we're gonna clean this up and put some primer on it. But before we do that, we're gonna sand all of this down because we're gonna overspray here and get some over here too. Automotive primer. So there we go. This spray paint's gonna take some time to dry because it's cold outside, but this little glare thing and those aren't dents inside that bondo we did. That is just a glare on that. After this dries, we're gonna sand it down and it will be perfect. Overall, that looks good. No more rust. Body lines seem pretty good. Good enough. So there we go. That's that side done. Let's go over to this side real quick. That side is done, and that side is done. As you can see, after we sanded this side down, no more glare. So there we have it. I hope you guys learned something from this. I hope you guys fix your cars. Don't take them to a shop because they'll rip you off. Learn how to do it yourself. Shout out to Pops for letting me work on his car. And you're probably gonna see this car more later on with other stuff, engine work, suspension and stuff like that. But, I'm gonna call that good. See you next time.